Hello and welcome to Into the Light. I'm your host, Edina Mauvana. Today we have Asil Toksal. Asil is not just a guide on awakening journeys and expanding consciousness. He's a compassionate soul who deeply understands the human experience. As the founder of Evolution One, it's a visionary nonprofit organization. Asil has created a vibrant community of conscious creators who are committed to making a positive impact in the world. Through global gatherings and transformative expeditions to restore the Earth's energetic grid, he ignites a collective shift in consciousness, reminding us of our interconnectedness and our responsibility to the planet. Thank you so much, Asil, for being here. I know you have such a wonderful, heartfelt mission to empower individuals and create these pillars of light messaging with your Evolution One network. So I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Dina. It's a true pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, tell me a little bit. I know we have a lot I could ask you, but I always like to basically hear people's stories. I know that we were talking a little bit before this recording. You come from a Turkish background, and I know you're in Europe right now, and we're dealing with different time zones across the globe. Tell me a little bit about what brought you to this work you do with this spiritual awakening process, because for me, I'm obviously here talking about ascension and global consciousness awakening and improving our vibrational frequency. So yeah, tell me how you got into this work a little bit, what you like to say when people ask you that.
Sure. So I was born in Austria by Turkish parents and grew up in an academic context and became really well versed in educating myself, and science and engineering was like my greatest gift, so to say, the way I think, the way I operate. And then I followed a path, an entrepreneurial path. I worked and started marketing agencies, a biofuels company at some point. And I started to realize that no matter what kind of success I have in the worldly means, it was always lacking some sort of fulfillment and some sort of opening in my heart. I always thought that it would bring me the quote unquote happiness that everyone promised me. But I realized very quickly that any type of worldly achievement, anything we seek outside, doesn't really do that. It gets us a little bit, it gives us like just a drop, a teaser of a feeling of, oh, I achieved something, but then it fades away very quickly. And then we are hunting for the next thing. And I was hunting for the next thing and for the next bigger thing and so on. And I realized, wow, this continuous journey, this treadmill, this hamster wheel that I'm in is not really getting me what my soul wants. My soul wants something different. It wants something bigger. It wants to have a deeper understanding of life. It wants to have a deeper understanding of who I am, why I'm here, and what the meaning of life is, and how I can contribute to humanity at a bigger scale, deeply assisting others in their journey of awakening and evolution. So here I am doing my worldly things, and I'm starting to get sick, right? I'm starting to get depressed. I'm starting to get burned out. And to the point where I realize I can't do anymore what I'm doing. Even though no matter how successful I am, no matter how many people say, good job and pat on my shoulder, I can no longer do it. And that was the point where I decided, okay, I need to let go of what I have started, what I have created. I need to start discovering life from a new place. And that was really one of the key moments in my spiritual journey, even though it had started much earlier. And with that, I started to go on a journey of meeting different spiritual masters of different lineages and trying to understand, what is spirit about? What is consciousness about? What is ascension about? And who am I in this whole conglomerate of things that are happening, and the way many different lineages have touched with spirit and connected with the divine in their own ways. And many different countries, many different religions, many different rituals, many different parts of the world, where I immersed myself deeply in understanding spirit, in understanding myself, in healing and shedding layers of conditioning, and becoming more and more connected with that part of me that is eternal. That's not the ego. That's not the conditioned part of this lifetime. That's not a seal. It's a much bigger thing. As I'm going through this journey, 8 years ago, something happens. And in one of my meditations, I have this connection that is so profound that changed my life in that moment. And I didn't know what kind of impact it would have on me until much later, of course. But I felt it was big. I felt something big was happening there. It was this dome of energy that closed around me. And I started to feel these light beings coming closer and closer to me. One of them moved forward and connected with me and spoke to me just the way you and I spoke to each other.
And this is while
And
you were
it said,
meditating, like in a meditation?
exactly, that's
Mhm.
I'm in the meditation,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And this conversation, this voice says, my name is Emmanuel, and you're now ready that we can work with you. And I thought, who is Emmanuel? And to do what? What's happening here? I'm confused, I'm surprised, I'm overwhelmed. And Emmanuel says, you'll find out soon enough more clearly what this is about. But as a soul, you have been preparing for this throughout many lifetimes to fulfill an important role as an instrument of the divine. So we can work through you to support humanity in this time of awakening, in this time of a great transformation. And they showed me in all the ways they would support humanity through me and all the ways I would develop to become an instrument of their work. And I was just so overwhelmed. I thought, I'm just a single guy. What can I possibly do in this world? What can I do possibly to change humanity? And they said, just think about it. Even though you made this agreement as a soul thousands of years ago, you still have the choice today to go forward with it or to say no, to live a normal human life
Oh,
if
like
that's
a
what
free
you
will,
want.
free will has a play.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And so I thought about it for three
Yeah.
months. I thought about it. What does it mean? What is it gonna make my life? How's it gonna shape me? And when I said yes, then they were back and a whole process of transformation started. Energy body, my mental body, my emotional body, all types of healings, all types of energy work, meditations. They would wake me up in the morning before sunrise, make me go run around the mountain, eat particular things and not eat
This
these
is
things.
full-time
It
job.
became like I had 24 hours
Yeah.
supervision, coaching, like very specific details on how to progress in this development to become an instrument. And that took about a year and a half. That period was awful, was transformative. And at times I was thinking, I'm just going crazy. I'm losing my mind,
Yeah, people
right?
talk about like you think you're having a spiritual psychosis or something of that
Totally.
nature. Yeah, you had that experience.
Totally,
Right.
because I thought, here I am talking to angels and
Uh-huh.
they're doing things to me, operations and transformation, all kinds of things. And how am I going to explain this to my friends? And how am I going to explain this to my parents, the people
Wow.
around me that always saw me as the super grounded human being that I've
Uh,
been? And so that was really like the big ego breakdown to transformation.
and what kind of work led up to that moment? Like where you described it was a few years of doing what, daily meditations, or what kind of deep spiritual work were you doing up until that point, just on a personal level? Because I know you
I
said,
mean, yeah, you can name it, everything from prayer to breath work to yoga to
Mm,
qigong to meditations to yogic practices to plant medicine work to daily meditations. There's so much in
yeah.
there. There was very few things that I left out, really, because the desire of my soul to awaken was so strong
Mm,
that it was almost like a driving force for awakening. It was hungry for the awakening process. It was hungry to become embodied in this human form.
yeah, you mentioned it started at that point. I thought of you come from a Muslim background, or I know I come from a Muslim background, and we have the concept of the focus of the dunya, which is like the earthly plane, and that our worship shouldn't be anything of this dunya, that we should really be basically turning our hearts to God and to not of things of this nature, material world, right? So that's what I heard you describing, is that the driving force behind it is your soul's sort of connection to God, to Allah, or whatever that might be for different people. Yeah, would you describe it that way? And I'm also curious if you have a Muslim background, but what do you think of how you've had to maybe move beyond those our religious structures, and maybe talk a little bit about how you've integrated all that into your current spiritual practice?
You know, what's interesting is, yes, my parents were born Muslim, and I grew up in that household in a Roman Catholic country in
Uh-huh.
the Jewish Hasidic district of Vienna. So I was immersed with the Abrahamic lineages as
Uh-huh.
one can be, even though I was, and we were not a practicing family. Religion was perceived in my parents' perspective as an element of culture, an element of history, and it wasn't necessarily consistently practiced as a spiritual practice. And you know how that is, different levels of, even in Christianity and Judaism, there's like many different layers of how deep people are actually practicing or taking the wisdom to carry that forward, or how lightly it is held in one's consciousness and being. It was somewhat lightly held in our family. But I also recognized that in my journeys around the world, I was curious. For me, I went to the holiest places of all religions and practiced and participated in whatever they would allow me to participate, to see, okay, what is a prayer like in this Christian church? What is a prayer like in this synagogue? What is a prayer like in this temple? What is a prayer like in this particular cave that a yogi ascended from? All of those questions really delivered me a direct connect to spirit, to the divine, that was beyond any identification or category that humans like to put them into. Like, my God is like this, and your
Yeah.
God is different, and so on. Right?
Yes, we have to deconstruct all of those categories at some point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I found deep love and appreciation for all pathways to the divine.
Okay.
And if there is one common denominator among all of those lineages, it's love. And it's more importantly, more than just human love, it's divine love. The love to the divine and the love of the divine within self, right? The wonder and awe of creation that emerges from within us. And when I touched that, I could touch it everywhere. I could touch that truth, that love in all of the lineage that I went to, that I experienced God or divine with. So it's been a beautiful journey. And what was fascinating was that these angelic beings, they referred to themselves as the names humanity had given them. And as these angelic beings in the Abrahamic lineages are recognized throughout all of the lineages. And they have very similar names, and they are considered messengers of God.
And yeah, tell me about connecting in, because I saw maybe on your Instagram, I see you make videos about this, and how are we how are we able to basically be, or you're doing the work to become like a clear channel so that maybe you don't have interference between dark energies or things like that? What are the things that you have to do? Because think I heard you describe it like going up an elevator and connecting in. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how you do that work and make sure that you don't have distortions in that field, because that can
Sure.
be where we get a lot of negative experience, right?
Absolutely. So I think one of the most important pieces was clearing out any type of duality that I was holding inside of me. Duality as in like good, bad, dark, light, and all of those things within me. And the more we can clean out our past and our wounds and our ancestral lines, our karma, the clearer it is, the easier we can go upward rather than sideways, right? When we start going sideways, that's when things go sideways. because then we start to connect with different energies of the worldly realms, as you just mentioned, the realm of dunya. And when we are more clear and when we have enough accumulated spiritual energy, we can go further and further up, straight up, until we pass human consciousness, until we pass earth consciousness, until we start reaching celestial realms. Celestial realms have a particular energy and frequency about them. They are incredibly pure. They hold a very high frequency. There is incredible order, and there is a imminent, unconditional love that's present there. It's indistinguishable. It's very clear what it is. And in that level of purity, there is no doubt left. There is no fear left. And rarely there is any thoughts left. And it took a long time for me to get to that practice to be able to reach these states, to connect with the celestial realms. And that's when they would start the embodiment process. That's when they would be able to enter into my being and speak through me.
And this is the pillars, the concept you're calling is a pillar, becoming pillars of light. Is that how you describe the work that you do with clients and people who are following this journey?
The guides basically said there's going to be 3 important lines of work that is going to impact humanity at the highest possible way. One said, they said the pillars of light are humans that are basically going on a journey of self-realization, on an awakening journey,
Right.
to purify themselves, to become instruments of the divine in its purest form. And it's not for them to become channels, because I fulfill a certain purpose as a channel. So I don't train people to become channels.
Okay.
It's for them to become a vessel of consciousness, a vessel of love. And this love is the love of creation. It's the unconditional love that permeates through all of existence. For them to be able to channel that frequency and that vibration and be able to hold it, there is work that needs to be done. There is cleansing, there is purification, energetic adjustments, and all of that. So the guides provide that for people that are choosing to go on that journey. And along that journey, people have a lot of realizations. They learn a lot about themselves, they complete their past, they clean their karma, all of those things.
Mm.
And the more they do, the more aligned they become. So that was one piece. They said pillars of light is so important because humanity is going to need pillars of light that are holding a very pure presence.
Yeah, that's like when people talk about light workers, right? Is it the same sort of, because I hear that a lot, light workers or pillars of light. Is it the same or different?
I think it's very similar in that vein, but light workers, in my perspective, is a much broader understanding of what it could be.
Okay.
Someone could be a light worker without having done the extensive work that we basically make our audiences go through.
Okay,
it's like a very strong training that we have.
Yeah.
That's delivered by the guides.
Got it. Okay.
And second part, they said the earth holds an energetic grid. This energetic grid supports consciousness. And this earth grid requires certain ways of clearing, attunement, reactivation. And they said the earth grid needs to be or will be structured to hold the awakening of humanity, because humanity is supported by the grid itself.
Okay.
And they call that the Ascension grid. They said, for the ascension of humanity, we're going to need the Ascension grid established. That's going to require cleaning collective trauma that is still remnant in the different fields. That requires activating sacred sites that are known to humanity or not known to humanity, places of ancient civilizations, and so on. So that really sent me on a journey to go to all kinds of places around the world, incredibly powerful and beautiful places, and some challenged places. I've visited places of conflict and genocide and concentration camps, because some of the energies that are stuck there, they are impeding on our evolution, right? And the third pillar, they said, is the work with influencers and people that have a stronger voice in humanity, because they too are humans going through an awakening process.
Awakening.
They're going to need support as well. And as they get their support, they will assist with their voice and with their influence in the best possible way. So
Yeah.
this is the reason why we created Evolution One, to hold that body of work.
Yes.
And to deliver on this mission that the guides gave us.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So I love the sounds of, I've heard this term, doing grid work in different places around the globe. So yeah, tell me about how you're having global gatherings and the expeditions, and how you're having sacred maybe rituals, or what are you guys doing when you're going into these gatherings, these spots around the earth?
So we've developed a program called Earth Keepers, which basically trains people to become Earth Keepers. And that is really, a lot of it is on a consciousness level. As you can see, I don't have any amulets, tools, crystals, and this and that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But the guides basically told me, they said, all of the tools that you need will be embedded in your being. So your presence will be the ultimate tool. You will be the ultimate instrument. I thought, okay, this is interesting. And so we develop ourselves to be instruments when we go to all of these sacred sites around the world. Some of these expeditions are in person, so we actually go there physically. And then we allow people to connect to us as we go remotely via digital means and follow the journey and participate in meditations. And then we also do journeys that are entirely remotely. So we basically imagine it to be like a remote viewing, but together with your friends and with your colleagues. So we come together in like hundreds of people, or sometimes thousands.
Wow.
And then we basically travel to particular countries and to particular sacred sites and focus our attention on the alignment of that sacred site, or on the clearing of that collective trauma place.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the collective trauma and the role that plays. Tell me, because I know before you were mentioning the role of deconstructing our kind of duality, situations where we're experiencing, I think, the separation from us and God. People talk about the illusion of separation, but that we are breaking down so that we achieve this ultimate oneness. So tell me a little bit about how the role of healing through trauma, and especially you mentioned connections to what's going on at different parts of the globe, like where there's warfare or lot of difficulties. So tell me about how that's all connected to our connection with God and dismantling this dualistic reality that we're all experiencing.
So here's going to be a couple things that may either trigger some people, or people may feel something about this when I share it. The guides say that all experiences ever had are divine. They say everything has a purpose. Even the most challenging and the deepest wounds that we carry happened for a reason. And the main reason, they say, is consciousness in human form, or this human experience, we learn through challenges. Our consciousness evolves, our soul evolves, our collective evolves through that. Now, we could be very short-sighted. We could look at the current state of human affairs and we could say, nothing has evolved. Look at this. Like, what's happening? Exactly. But the truth is, we are consistently evolving and consciousness is expanding. And what's happening right now in this awakening process is we are recognizing a lot of our unprocessed past, not just in our current life, but our lineages.
Right.
If you go 2 generations, or even 1 generation, 2 generations, 3 generations back, there is war in almost every person's life. It's wild, right? It's so close, but it feels, oh, that happened sometime in the past in history books, hundreds of years ago.
No, our ancestral trauma is right there. So
it's so close. Yeah. It's so close. And if we look at sometimes our parents, we can see that trauma still affecting them. Yes. Right? Mm-hmm. So what happens is, when consciousness of a certain generation can't complete the processing, they hand it over to the next generation.
Yeah. Just kick it down.
So it's, here you go. This is your inheritance. Good luck with this. We tried the best we could do. It's not we're giving this because we think bad, but it is because this is the flow of nature. So we get a huge delivery, a big burden of all the things that have happened that we want to complete and transform and become more evolved as a result of that. So the evolution of our consciousness requires healing, requires
Healing,
transformation.
yeah. It's like
And
mandatory right now, right? We're
it
going
really
through as a
is.
collective, yes.
It really is. And I think we can't really rationalize our way out of it. We
Right.
can't really spiritually bypass it, even though we try. We can't over mentalize it. We try to think about it in certain ways. We have to really sit down,
And
look
we,
at it,
yeah, and we
and
can't
process
pretend,
it.
yeah, we can't pretend that following the best rules with it or the strictest is the way to God. Like we don't get to pretend that it's a point
Totally.
system and that you got this many extra credit bonus points or this many times that you did this. It's like people just want to spiritually bypass the real work and pretend that they're going to
Mhm.
get to God by conforming to however their code of conduct is telling them to perform. It's very
Yes.
performative. It's just extremely, yeah, not in
Yes. And
alignment,
it's
right?
less about, in the first steps, it's less about doing, but it's really about being. Can you be in silence with yourself? And can you feel peace? And can you feel love? And how long can you sustain that feeling? So it's really about that journey. And the more we can get into that place of peace and love, just within our being, just within our presence, all our actions naturally change. We start to do good deeds and service naturally.
Yeah.
There is no way for us to be operating from our traumas if we have found peace in our presence. And so
Mhm.
that's really, in many ways, the journey that the guides are putting us on. And obviously, by itself is nothing new. It's something that's been recited for thousands of years, and it's in many lineages.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think when we have so many, there's ancient traditions that talk about this in different ways, right? All of our religious traditions to some degree have this messaging. And I feel like it's our duty as we're having our soul's mission here, our purpose in life is to deconstruct or to figure out where it's been corrupted by humanity or the ego and where we are actually trying to find the true connection to God. That for me is the most important work because as we talk about our soul purpose, right? It's first the light goes on, you're like, okay, I'm not just here living a physical world, but maybe there's something else. And then our whole mission work is to get in alignment with that and figure out for each one of us what that might be. I love the way you talk about your work with healing ancestral trauma and even past lives and karma in how we have a lot of work to do, each one of us, no matter who we are on the planet, right? It doesn't matter. It's very applicable to each and every one of us. So that's what I love. It's everything has to be opened up right now for everyone who's here, not just whether your specific religion is going to heaven or not, right?
100%.
Yes.
And for me, it's like, how can we make heaven on earth happen? How can I find peace now, not when I'm dead? How can I clean up all my relationships and how can I have love, pure love, divine love,
Mm.
moving and oozing and transmitting from me rather than waiting for it to happen at some point when I'm dead, right? It's like when we have found that, all the other things are just going to fall into place.
Yes,
And so
amazing.
that journey is really, to me, maybe the most essential journey of being human.
Yeah. It really is. And like you said, it's all of us here unified, right? Evolution One. That's the name of your organization and the work you do. Yeah, I'm so excited, Asil, to hear all of the messaging that you bring to humanity through the channeling work that you do, through everything that you're bringing with the organization. Can you tell me where people can find you, our listeners who want to learn more, and maybe where they should go to follow your work and maybe even become a part of these global gatherings? Because I know you have an invitation for people to join. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So evolution.one is where our website is.
Yeah.
And we have on social media, we have Instagram and YouTube. There is lots of content that we
Yeah.
give away for free on YouTube.
Oh,
And we try to make all our courses and programs
because it's
as
nonprofit
attainable.
work, right? You
It's
would do?
nonprofit,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
correct. And we try to make it as attainable as possible.
Mhm.
donations and donors that support this work. And we have in our workshops, in our upcoming workshops, it's very much focused on how to become a conscious creator, right? So how do I, as you talked about manifestation, like where does the manifestation desire come from? Does it come from a wounded place? Does it come from a trauma? Does it come from lack? Or does it come from a place of content and peace? And what do I want to create from that place? So conscious creators are those that are creating more conscious awareness of their being and creating from that place. So conscious creators is the journey that we have been on. There's a workshop that's coming up in January. It's
Oh,
called
nice.
Ignite. How do we walk into 2005 as a conscious creator?
That's a great time.
How do we
Resolution
create
time.
something? Exactly, New Year's resolution time. How do we create without the burden and the heaviness we have carried from the year before? Without the concerns and the fears we may be holding about the future? Because the more we hold on to that, actually we create it, right? You know how that goes.
Yeah. We're all overcoming our limiting beliefs, our mindset, our programming. That's where it all starts. And I think everyone to a certain degree is waking up to doing this work. And it's so important to find the communities and the containers where, you know, we feel most aligned with how to actually get those results and have the transformations and the breakthroughs that this work provides. Yeah, I absolutely love that for you and for everyone who can join.
Yes, and we have a remote expedition to the country of Belize.
Oh, Belize. I love Belize. I was there in 2016. That's amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
The blue hole and everything is there's so many powerful caves and everything.
There's some powerful caves and Mayan archaeological sites and so on. Now, this is the first time we're trying a remote expedition. We've done a lot of expeditions to Guatemala, and we're going to have an actual physical expedition to Mexico later in the year. But the one in Belize is going to be in February. And that's a good way for people to learn and understand, how can my consciousness connect to every place on the planet? How can my consciousness receive from the beauty and the energy, the high vibration that moves through some of these pristine places? And how can I participate in attuning and bringing some light into places? And so that is a journey of really understanding that our human body, our energetic body, can do so much more than we could have ever imagined.
Amazing. I love it so much. Yeah, that's so true, especially with what you said about the natural beauty and the power that it gives us when we're focusing in on those higher vibrational frequencies, and we can help raise the whole energetic frequency of the planet, right? That's how I've understood this work to be done. So I love the way you break it down, Asil, and provide this information for those who follow you and your work. And we're definitely going to have your website listed, as well as where people can find you on the website under the episodes. Thank you so much. And any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up? And so lovely to have you. I'm so excited that you were here.
Thank you, Edina. What I'll say is there is incredible power and beauty and incredible love in every one of you. And it's just waiting to be touched, unlocked, activated, and fueled. And I hope that the will of your soul will drive you towards activating the highest potential version of yourself.
Amen. Thank you so much, Asil. Thank you for being here. That was a wonderful little prayer for all of us. And I'm so glad that you could make it on my show today. And hopefully we'll get people following you, joining into the Ignite program and following Evolution One. It's such a pleasure. Hope to have you again in the future sometime. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Edina. I look forward to it.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.